Welcome to the Animal Aspirations podcast. In this episode, we speak to two of my friends in the vet program at the RVC. We talk about their bachelor's and master's degrees and their reservations about coming onto the vet program later. We talk about our mental health as vet students and the struggles of studying through a pandemic. Friendships play such an important role in life, and on this program, we see how they have helped shape us to be better people. Inspiring friends who can help you be the best version of yourself. These guests are such inspirational people in my life. They bring me so much wisdom, and I hope that they can give you some perspective. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yep, I'm Kishan. I'm a second year vet student. We're going to third year now.
I'm Charlotte. I'm also a second year vet student at the RVC, going into third year.
First of all, congratulations on passing exams to all of us.
Thank you.
I first wanted to talk about how you got to vet school. So Kishan, do you want to just chat to us about your journey to vet school?
Yeah, I've got a long journey, but I'll tell you it in a little nutshell. I think I always wanted to kind of be a vet, but I just didn't think I was smart enough to be a vet. So when I was applying for uni, I saw this course, which was biovet, which is just like biomed, just for the vet world. So I applied to that. I don't know, I think I lost my passion for veterinary there because I saw the vets were a lot smarter than me and I saw how hard they were studying. I just thought I couldn't see myself in that position. So then I ended up finishing biovet and I went into sales. Then I did a master's because I thought kind of wanted to pick up another step and pick up another degree. So I did regenerative medicine, came out and then did sales again. I just wasn't enjoying sales. I just don't think it was fulfilling. And in the back of my mind, I always knew I wanted to be a vet. So I think on the off chance, I think I just applied again. Thank God I got it because I applied for the 4-year course and the 5-year course, and I was in my sales job actually, and I got rejected. I went to the toilet. I nearly cried. I was like, okay, you just got to be the salesman now. And I knew in my heart that I wanted to be a vet, but because I just didn't get it, I just had to commit to being a salesperson. But then I went back and I got another email which accepted me for the 5-year course, and then I was like, yes, sales isn't for me. Thank God, thank the Lord. And I started praying, and here I am now. So I'm doing veterinary medicine.
Oh, that's so cute. But yeah, no, that's a lovely
It was heartbreaking, but I'm here, so I'm happy now.
Well done. And Charlotte?
So I had kind of a different route into biovet. So during my A-levels, I was told I wasn't smart enough because I was really not doing very well at chemistry. So those of you who want to go to vet school and not good at chemistry, just persevere because I got a C and I'm here doing vet now. But yeah, they told me to apply for veterinary nursing and I thought I might be good at it, but I was sort of more obsessed with the science side. So I saw a bioveterinary course and an animal science course and I applied for those at the RVC and got in. I did biovet and I wasn't really sure I wanted to be a vet after biovet because I'd already done my 3-year degree and I was hanging out with all the vets at RVC and it just looked like a lot of hard work and stress that I didn't know if I wanted to put myself under. So once I finished biovet, I got a job in a vet practice, a small animal vet practice, working basically as a receptionist and a PCA. And during my time there, I basically was inspired to go to vet school by the vets that worked there who told me I was too clever to be doing what I'm doing and I should really try and push and follow my dream. And I didn't straight away. I decided to do a master's in One Health, like the control of infectious diseases at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And I sort of was still in two minds about becoming a vet, but I did a research project in Argentina looking at canine visceral leishmaniasis. And I thought I could make a difference sort of in the world being a vet instead of just being a research scientist because it opens a few more doors for you. So I applied to vet school. I applied for the 4-year and the 5-year like Kishan, and I think it was like April the 26th I got the rejection letter when I was at the stables and I was gutted. I was so sad for the 4-year course and I was like, right, my dream's over, it's fine, like you can go down research. And then literally 2 minutes later I got the acceptance letter for the 5-year course and I was like, great, this is what I'm doing now. And yeah, that's my journey into veterinary medicine.
Oh. Did you feel any reservations about applying and like later, like feeling like, oh, there are just going to be loads of like 18-year-olds and I'm not like going to go in and I'm not going to have any friends, I'm just going to like whatever, like this is my dream and I'm just here for a degree? Did you kind of have that sort of mentality?
I did when I first got in, because I made loads of friends during my first degree, and I was like, oh, I really don't need any more friends. Like, I've done the whole partying, going out things. I'm just gonna knuckle down and, you know, get on with it. But that didn't happen. I made a bunch of new friends, and I'm still going out. Yeah, I feel like my main reservation was just being that bit older and being a woman who wants to have children. I'm quite like career driven anyway, but I was a bit worried about starting life later, how I would fit children around veterinary medicine, because I've seen it be a struggle in practice. And those like thoughts are still there. I still am worried about that, but I'm living my dream.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that, to be honest. I think my biggest concern was not that I didn't want to make friends, because when my master's, I just wanted to study. And so all the friends I made were just in the library. So I ended up making study buddies. It just worked well for that education purpose. But then I knew this was a 5-year course, and I think I just need stability and good friends to keep me through this 5 years. So I was more concerned that I wasn't going to make the right friends. And I think I'm a very outgoing and bubbly person. So for me to even have those thoughts was very strange, because like, am I even going to make friends? Am I even going to like the people on my course? And it's 5 whole years. It's kind of half a decade. You kind of want to have the good friends. But we ended up, like you said, Charlotte said, we made loads of good friends, and I'm very happy with my friendship group. I think they're probably the reason that I'm going to get through that school. Any other reservations? I think I had, just like Charlotte, I had a missus at the time when we were to get married. And so I think we had to ask the big question, is it okay if she would wait another 5 years? And I don't know, as a man, it's very hard to ask your missus that, especially because she's your girlfriend. It's not that she doesn't owe you, she's just asking someone for 5 years of their life. And it's kind of a big sacrifice. And she accepted it and I accepted it. I'm here now, but I still think about it. I'm like, wow, I'm going to be really old by the time I finish. But I think time is only of your own essence, really. Time always goes and time doesn't wait for anyone. So if you've got a dream, I think just go for it.
Did you find that this course was different from like your studying technique, and the things you were doing was different from your master's and your first degree? Like, do you think this is more challenging, just like just different types of learning that you had to like give yourself for each stage?
Charlotte, you can always go first.
I would say yes, because biovet was hard, it was difficult, and I feel like the things we were learning, we learn less content but in more depth.
Yeah.
Whereas right now we're learning a lot about a lot. I don't really know how else to explain it. There's so much content that you need to have at least a basic understanding of, and it's not stuff you're learning to forget. You're learning it for life. Like, you're not just learning it to pass an exam. And I find that my learning style has changed, because I did used to be a bit of a crammer, which is not a good technique, everybody. And sort of just wait till a few weeks out of my exams to try and fit in a year's worth of content, and you really can't do that in vet med. So I've had to change my style to sort of long-term memory commitment, active learning, so a lot of talking through concepts and drawing things out, and actually having, like, I wasn't one for making a lot of notes. Like, I don't have folders and folders full of notes, but now I have more notes than I've ever had in my life. Still not as many as other people, but I have to write things down and have things sort of conceptualized to help me get through and help me remember.
It's also nice having notes, like when you know you forget something, to like be able to look back and you're like, oh no, I've made like a summary table, like at least I have like something to try and jog my memory for. But no, yeah, that's really interesting. What about you, Kishan?
Yeah, I think I'd say the same. So for biovet and my master's, the topics are very specific, but you go into such detail where you learn different molecular names, and it's so specific to your topic that you can just remember it. That's now your specialty, and it's not easier, but I think just there's a little bit less content to go over. And in veterinary medicine, there's so many things to go over all the time, and you kind of need them at the forefront of your mind. It's not something you're just remembering and then you can forget. So I think the style of learning I've done now, which sounds crazy to say because this is my third degree, but I think I used to learn to remember before. I know I'm learning to understand. So now I, like Charlotte says, I kind of explain to my friends and I explain to my peers. And as soon as I start to explain, it just shows me, okay, I now grasp the concept. I don't just remember it, I can fully understand it. So it's a lot nicer.
And for us this year has been extra challenging because we've been at home. So I feel like I've seen your faces on this screen, you like with your backgrounds for the whole year. But would you say, even though it's been challenging, you still like it's helped you more, like you've done your best in the circumstances, but you wish things, well, hopefully they will be different, but things will be different. Do you think, like, how was your like mental health affected? Because I think like already the mental health of vet students is already such like a interesting topic because of the amount of stuff we have to go through. Do you think that was added to because we were all isolated at home?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. So I feel like it's a hard one for me because I feel like whilst being at home was really difficult and challenging and feeling isolated from everybody, I actually probably learnt more at home than I would have at university because because I live at home and not with my friends at university. I've got a commute in and a commute out, which means I think it was about 2.5 hours of studying to my day, which I wouldn't have because I would have been traveling to and from uni. So that was beneficial for me. I feel like in terms of my mental health, there was one sort of point just after Christmas, between sort of like Christmas and exams, where I really didn't want to do it anymore. I thought, this is so difficult, it's so challenging. I don't feel like I have the support, even though your friends are sort of, you can text them, you can message them, you can have a Zoom call. It just didn't feel the same because you're sort of lacking social interaction and you're in a household where not everybody understands what you're doing. And I think before I entered vet med, I spoke to a lot of vet students and they said only vet students and maybe med students understand the challenges that you're going through, and your family just won't, and you have to kind of accept that. And I felt like I understood that. As much as I tell my parents and family I'm stressed out, as much as I tell my friends who aren't in vet med that I'm stressed out, they sort of give you the attitude as if you chose to do this, so you kind of just have to get on with it. And it was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow because I'm struggling as well from a privileged position, because I know there are so many other people that wanted to be in this position and I'm here, but I'm also struggling, and it's okay to accept that. And I thought the way I combated that was through exercise and sports, because I'm quite a sporty person. So I feel like it's finding something that you like and being sure to incorporate it into your day and just take breaks. I'm one for taking breaks. Maybe I take too many, but I don't know, it helps me get by.
No, man, whatever helps you. Like, mental health is very important. If you need to just be like, no, I need to go out and do a run. I can, like, this will always be there for me when I come back. It's not a deadline. I will learn this, but like I need to do something for me right now to like clear my head and get into a better space. I think that's always important. What about you, Kishan?
I think it was just the start was so hard for me because I've never worked at home my whole life. For my master's or my first degree, if I need to study, I'll always study outside at a library or the university library. So it was a complete shift where now I have to sit at home for 10 to, I don't know how many hours a day and just study. And I don't know, I feel like I hadn't acquired that skill in my degrees before. So then being put into veterinary medicine and say, okay, now you just got to figure out how to study it by yourself at home all day long. It just felt more of a mental challenge than anything. And just like Charlotte, I like to go out, I like to go to the gym, I like to keep myself busy. And because the gyms were closed, I had no out. So the only thing I had coming into my mental well-being was just uni. And like Charlotte says, I couldn't explain to my family I was stressed because I'd say I was stressed and they said, don't be. And then, I don't know, it's like when someone says that, okay, I'm feeling a certain way, and they say, okay, don't feel that way. It's not like you stop, but like Charlotte says, you just accept that they're not going to understand. So at one point I said, okay, I got to not tell them I'm stressed. And that's the way I combated it, just by pretending that I'm not stressed, even though I was stressed. And then I think I was very blessed that one of my good friends, Manuel, we used to have a conversation every weekend. And I said to him, hey, look, I just can't study by myself. I don't know if I can do this. I think I just need someone there. So then we ended up saying, should we just Teams every day? So we ended up using Teams every day. We wouldn't actually talk. He would just be there. So it's kind of like a social distancing library. So like it was really good because if I went on my phone, he'd catch me on the camera and be like, hey, you're on your phone. Or if he was on his phone or he got distracted, I can kind of keep him on track. So we ended up keeping up each other on track. And then because I had a friend who was on my course, I could say I was stressed and he could get it. And I think that just helped me mentally because I was like, do you know what? He's not telling me not to be stressed. He's saying, I get it. Should we change our revision tactics? Should we do this? And kind of he combated it with solutions and vice versa. If he said, oh, I wasn't getting this topic, I'd be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Should we do it with you? Or should I teach you? I don't know. I think having that friend on my course on Teams elevated my studying. And thank God that he was there because, like I said to him recently when we passed, I said, if it wasn't for you, I would have definitely failed. And vice versa. If it wasn't for me, I'm sure he would have failed too.
And just actually adding on to that, I feel like, I don't know if you felt it as well, Kishan, but being in person at university and having all of the university facilities actually benefit some people. Like, I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learn so much more from a 2-hour dissection than I do from reading a book for 2 hours. It's just that way. I need to see it, feel it, see it in its orientation, and just sort of add on to what I've read outside of the dissection. And I kind of felt like my mental health deteriorated because I thought, I'm not doing a learning style that's benefiting me, but I felt like everybody else was okay and was able to learn from books. And I was like, it's just me that can't do this. I'm going to really struggle and I'm not going to pass. And I sort of had like inner demons, like inner competitive demon, thinking about everybody doing better than me because I'm not experiencing the learning style that I know suits me.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because like what you guys are saying about people not understanding and like, you know, I think even though we're friends and we have a friendship group, like still, even when we're struggling or being like, oh, I can't believe like, you know, if one of our friends would send over like, oh guys, I did this table, I think it's helpful. And I'm like, oh my God, look at how she's done this table. Like, this is really good. But no, I just feel the thing with our group is at least I don't feel like it's a competition, you know. I feel like we're all here to support. Like if anyone was like, guys, I really don't understand this, like, can someone help me? We're like, yes. Like you and Emmanuel have your Zoom dates, like Teams dates. I would like do like, I just think that is a really good thing to do. Like I would call friends and I'd be like, hey, little catch up, and they'll be like, cool, so now we're going to study, like we're in the library, and I just have them there on my phone, and then I'd be working, and then I'd look over at them and I'd be like, oh, I'm in the library, I'm not alone, I have someone with me. So I do think that's a really, it's a way, it's a hack, it's a life hack of trying to recreate the library at home. But what you were saying about people not understanding, I remember like Charlotte, I was going like January, February, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, I don't really care anymore. Like I think the 6 months of isolation being by myself, and then it was like really hard in January, just like kind of all like, it was like the new year, like we were still in a lockdown, it was like everything was like happening, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And I remember telling one of my best friends from home, and she was like, so just drop out. And I was like, I need to end this call, I love you, I need to end this call, because this is not the advice I want, this is my dream, I'm just having a hard period now, but that doesn't mean I want to give up, like I'm still enjoying myself. But that's just not, I was like, and that's when I realized, I was like, people won't understand, people won't understand if you, what we're going through, but at least we have each other, and that's important. I wanted to talk a little bit about our friendship group and the sorts of things that we do to help us revise together. So we have our weekly Kahoot session where we would make a timetable of all the like topics for like a term, and we'd put down names and everyone would have to come making a Kahoot. How did you find that as a, because I feel like that's something that if we weren't in a pandemic we probably wouldn't have added to, but how did you find that?
So I'll start with this one. I'll be dead honest. I was super skeptical about doing this because I study alone a lot of times. Like I didn't do many Zoom calls or meetings with anyone to study with anyone because I have quite a hectic schedule and it's hard to say like I'll be somewhere at a certain time. So when I committed to 9 o'clock on a Thursday or Friday morning, I was like, oh gosh, what are we getting ourselves into? And actually, the first few weeks, we had a few like teething problems of trying to figure out what style of questions to ask and how we're gonna, I don't know, make it beneficial to everyone. But actually, it was the best thing I'd ever done because there were topics that I know that I wasn't as strong on, and I got given it to make a Kahoot for everybody else. And I thought, well, you're just gonna have to get on with it, and you're gonna have to understand it, and you're gonna have to make questions that challenge people. But also, if they ask you to explain why that's the answer, you can sort of explain it back. And I felt it provided a sense of community that I felt like we were missing in the pandemic. but without it being overbearing for me or encroaching on my learning style. Like, I thought it was entirely beneficial. And I think if you're at vet school trying to find a group of friends, or even just somebody that you can sort of turn to and help with studying, is so important. So
Yeah, I'll agree completely. At the start, like I did have my Zoom days for manual, I was just so skeptical because we kind of had our learning figured out. We're like, are we even going to benefit from this hour or 2 hours? And then when we actually got to it, I was like, oh my God, I'm learning so much from other people's questions or other people's style of learning. And just like Charlotte said, I got a topic which I really didn't like, which was endocrine. I said, you've just got to figure it out now. And as soon as I gave myself that, like, you don't have a choice. Because when you're learning by yourself, you have a choice. Say, okay, this is my weak topic. But when you're with someone else, you can't say this is my weak topic because they're asking you questions. So it elevated my learning. And honestly, endocrine ended up being my favorite module. And I could not believe it, blew my mind. I was like, I love endocrine now. And just on the side topic from this Kahoot thing about having friends, I had these two girls, I won't say their names, they're from my tutor group. So they were like, hey, look, how do you learn? How do you study? And so I was telling them individually how I learned and I did Kahoots with you guys. I was like, hey, look, you two know each other. Why don't you two just do what we're doing on the side? And they were like, oh no, and they were skeptical, just like I was. I was like, hey, look, we'll give you the clips that we've done. Just do it together. They're like, hey, why don't you come just to buffer it for the first few sessions? So I was like, okay, look, I'll just do another Kahoot on a Friday with them. And they ended up loving it. They ended up saying that I was the best. I said, it's not me, it's my friendship group. And I think that just showed me having that group, having that people to ground you in your course can really take you, and me helping someone else with the things that we were just doing, which was kind of normal to us at that point. It made me feel like, wow, actually, this isn't normal. And what we're doing is way above and beyond what friends normally do. And it made me feel so good.
I think that's one of the things, like, this friendship group is at university. I don't know, I had reservations about everyone in vet just being very competitive and, like, you know, trampling on other people to, like, get to where they want. But I've never experienced, or I didn't think I would experience, just like a group of people who just like genuinely loved each other and just wanted each other to succeed. Like, when we all passed our exams, we were all like, are you okay? Like, we were like, does anyone fail and we need to help them with resits? Like, it was such like a, I don't know, it's just like a lovely, happy, supportive environment. And I think I feel very blessed to have you guys.
Can I stop you there quickly? Just on that topic there, honestly, I don't know how I've never felt this before, but I mean it, and I don't mean it in a bad way. Normally when I finish and pass exams, I love my friends and I always look at my grade, but I genuinely was like, I want to know if my friends have passed. Because the success that I'm feeling now, it's not the same. I want my whole team to pass. Because if someone else failed, I wouldn't feel as happy, even though I did pass. And this is the first time I've ever felt like, wow, I really care about these people. I care so much. I don't even care if I passed. I care more if they passed. And because you all said you passed and I passed, I was like, yes, now I can feel good. And it just felt like, oh, it just felt really good.
I think the reason we all feel like that is because at A levels, or all your education up until the point you go to university is a competition at the end of the day. You're always told you're trying to get the best grades, you're top of the class, you're competing with X amount of people for X amount of university spaces, and it always feels like a competition. And when you get to vet school, I feel for me it's a bit different because I got rid of this feeling during my first degree. But if you come straight from A levels, you're still in a competitive. I need to be top. I need to be a chronic overachiever, because most people who go to vet school are chronic overachievers. And when you sort of realize that actually if you do things not always on your own and you look for other people to help and you sort of start working on teamwork, which is vet school should sort of teach you how to work in a team, you start succeeding. And then when you start succeeding with your friends, you just think, this is an amazing feeling. I'm learning how to work in a team. My friends are passing too. I'm passing. And it sort of dwindles away that competitiveness because everybody's on their own journey. But at the end of the day, someone who passed with 80% and somebody who passed with 51%, they're still going to go to third year and they're still on the track to become a vet. So,
And I wish I knew that younger,
yeah.
because like, even you're saying it's out of A levels, but honestly, I worked in sales and I worked in like 3 companies, and it was always you had to be the best. Like I'd even be the best for the month. But when the month and the clock started again,
Oh,
you're competing for each other's time and energy. I cut out. I felt like I cut out there.
You did. You did. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, so everyone's just competing for each other's place. And then even when I was on my master's, I was like, I need to be the best. I just need to study. I just need to have no friends. I just want to be in the library. And I had such a good grade at my master's, but it never changed my life. And I wish at that point, I was like, it doesn't matter. You just, okay, be the best you. It's not about just being 99%, getting the highest grades, because grades can only get you so much in life. Like you're saying, teamwork and working together, knowing your weaknesses and having people who can help you with your weaknesses, that can take you a lot further, and that will take you much further in this career than being smart, I think.
It also gives you like good standing being a better person, because like our friendship group age range is like not drastic, but like it's like you guys have more lived experience than me. Like I'm fresh out of like, you know, I'm young, I'm 20, like you guys have like done degrees before, so like I feel like the accumulation of like your wisdom, and then like I just feel like the fact that we have different ages in the group and all that brings to the team, I think just helps to just make it more healthy. Like you were like, oh, we've done this before, like well, this is what worked for me in the past. And I'm like, oh well, this is like me bringing cahoots, because that's what I did in primary, like not primary school, but secondary school. Like that's how we would do like quizzes at the end of term and like how we'd learn for exams. And I was like, guys, I'm bringing this thing, like I think this is going to be really valuable to you. And you guys were like, what is this? I've never done this before. And I'm like, oh no, it's going to be really good. But because like I was one of the youngest in the groups, like no one else had heard of it, and you guys were like, oh, I don't want to do it. And I was like, I promise you're going to enjoy yourselves, just come to the session. So I think, yeah, that I also love I just love us. I love the different everything.
Yeah, I think we have a safe friendship group, because like I said, I was like at one time in exam season, I don't know what happens. I get this like exam block, and I couldn't even do like simple maths. It was like 4 halves, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I said, do you know what, I'm going to ask my friendship group, because I'm not worried. Do you know what I mean? I know it's a safe space. I know they're just going to say it as it is. And then I don't know. I feel like having that safeness, like I'm not worried. And I feel like back in the days, I wouldn't ask too many questions. And you know, when you grow up, people are like, there's no such thing as a silly question. Well, sometimes there is, because people judge you. And it's like, if I ask my friends this, I know they're not going to judge me. They're just going to take it as it is. And they know that it's just exam season. And that makes me feel good. I'm like, okay, I don't have to think twice about asking something.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're very, very lucky. I feel very blessed. Anyway, the reason that we're here today is for Animal Aspirations, representing Animal Aspirations and like the podcast. And I wanted to ask you, like, what made you want to do outreach work? Because again, like you could have just like had the friendship group, like could have just kept going, like you didn't need to worry about trying to make a change within the profession in the industry. But like, what sort of was your thinking behind like, oh, I've seen Animal Aspirations, I see the work they do, I want to be a part of that and I want to help?
You'd like to go first?
Okay. I think it's more just, I grew up in inner city London, and I personally never in all of my years of growing up until I got to vet school saw any black vets. I just didn't. It just wasn't a thing. And I feel like I want to be part of something greater. I feel like visibility is so important.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I'd seen maybe from a younger age more people who look like me in this profession, I wouldn't have been apprehensive about going for it or reserved about what my actual aspirations were. And I just want to sort of inspire the next generation to just go for their dreams and just think, you know, I can do it.
I think that's a big thing, making sure that it's not a barrier for someone else. Like the fact that we're here and being there and being like, you can do this too, you don't have to, but I'm just saying it's an option for you, and you don't have to be like, oh, I don't know if that's for me, just because you can't see anyone in that. And even though like visibility is such a big thing, I feel like some people, well, not some people, but you don't realize it's a big thing until you can't see it. And I think that's kind of all of our experiences being like from London, being in very multicultural schools, like where everyone looks like you, or like there's so many different cultures like and heritages and stuff coming together, and then you get to university. And I remember my first day I was like, oh, I'm in London though, like I don't understand, why is it not the same? But yeah, what do you think, Kishan?
I think, you know, when I was in school, it was very different when you said you wanted to be a vet. Like if you said you want to be a doctor, you had a whole team behind you at school. And when I said I wanted to be a vet, it was just me by myself. And it was just like, okay, well, figure it out. And then at that point, I was just like, okay, why is this school not helping students to be vets? Why, if you want to be a doctor, you have this whole team behind you. You have these whole classes after school. But when you want to be a vet, it's just, okay, you can go and do it and figure it out. And then I looked into it, and I was just looking like, out of my school, how many people ever applied to vet? And it was like 3. Bearing in mind, my school has been running for hundreds of years, so only 3 students applied. So I just thought, why not? Then because my school was very lucky to be very multicultural, I just felt like it wasn't a big thing that people pushed in our society. It wasn't, hey, look, it was always be a doctor. That's all I ever heard. And so as soon as I came into RVC and I saw this, I said, I want to go back to my own school. And so that's why I said, I just need to start doing this outreach work to show students, hey, look, even if you look like us, even if you don't feel like you're comfortable, this is there. This is an option. If you want help, we can provide the help. If you feel like you need the extra push, we can give you the extra push. I feel like if I was that age again and someone said that to me, I think I would have taken it and I would have needed it.
And I think actually carry on from what Kishan said, having the help is so important. Just knowing where to look to find out the entry requirements, what kind of work experience you need, how to write a personal statement, because we all got the generic chat on what you should put in there, but veterinary is so different. They want different things. You need to stand out from the crowd, and I feel like just having a group of people around you who've done it, been there, can provide you with that extra information is just, yeah, it's something, it's unmatched. It's something you really, really need. I had reservations from my mum when I wanted to apply to vet school because she just didn't know anybody in the industry. She didn't know how she could help me. And I don't think it was she didn't want me to do it. She just didn't know how to get me there. And so kept trying to push me down the law route, which is where she is, because she felt like she had people that could help.
Yeah.
So programs like Animal Aspirations are so important for people, who want to do this.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think what you were saying, Kishan, about like not having teams helping you compared to medicine in schools. Like I remember in my school, there were already like 3 people above me who were at vet school. And I remember like no one would help me. And my chemistry teacher was like, you want to be a vet? I taught them chemistry. They were in my class. Let me give you their names and you can find them on Facebook and you can contact them. So it wasn't even like the school helped me. It was like that teacher knew that I wanted to do that. And he was like, I'm going to put you in touch with the people who are there currently so that they can help you, because I know that there's nothing we can do here that can help you. So I think, yeah, just being like, it's just so overwhelming. If you just like want to research something like that, it's just like there's so much. I know there's only like 8/9 vet schools in the UK. So like in terms compared to other degrees, is not, you don't have that much selection, but it's just the criteria, like you were saying, Charlotte, that you have to like be fulfilling at each stage to get to there, because everyone was head girl, everyone has grade 8 instrument, everyone's the captain of their sport, like everyone, like they have everything. Like how do you make sure that you're not better than everyone else, but how, like you said, how do you stand out? So I think if we can help someone do that, it's worthwhile. And also just being ourselves as role models, just being at vet school, like someone who maybe comes to an open day and sees us like in the library, they're like, oh, look, they're here, I can do it too. So I think that's something that I didn't have when I was doing open days and like visits at the vet schools. So being that, unconsciously just being there, I think is something inspiring for us. So I'm very proud of us. I just wanted to finish with some of your inspirational quotes or life mottos, something that you feel like, helps you get through hard times. It doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that you always stuck with, but just what's something that's bringing you on now. I mean, I know technically we're filming this in the summer holidays, so none of us are that stressed, but what was something that helped you, this exam season or this year, or just something that you just really like live by and think is an interesting philosophy?
I'll start with mine. So someone said this to me not so long ago when I was complaining about being stressed and doing all these things and having to make all these requirements of vet school. They said to me, you are living the dream that you wished for. And it took me a moment to understand what they were talking about. And I was like, actually, 2 years ago, I wished I was at vet school and I wished I was able to do this and I wish I had connections here. And I'm actually there because I've worked for it. So not forgetting to live in the moment that you actually wished for, because you will get there.
That's really nice. I like that. You're living your own dream. You are literally living your own dream and countless other people's dreams. And and I like, it is hard. So I don't want to negate from the fact that like there are struggles that we're having. But I think sometimes that just helps put it in perspective a bit more. You're like, you know what? I can get through this. I'm enjoying this. This is just a small rough period. It will end. I'm going to get through it and I'm going to be an amazing vet. So I think, love that.
I'm a quote guy. So I've probably got 100 quotes on my mind. I read so many self-help books and they keep me going. But I think one that I've always had in the back of my mind was my everyday goal is to be better than who I was yesterday. life isn't a race between you and your friends. Life isn't a race between you and the person that's achieved the most. It's between you and yourself. And I feel like sometimes I'm so hard on myself to say, but look at my friends, they're not working as hard as me, or look at them, they're doing so much better than me, or they're doing so much more than you. But it's not, you're not competing against them, you're actually competing against yourself. So every day I look at myself and say, what can I do better? What can I do more? And sometimes I look at myself, I'm like, I'm so far compared to who I was when I was a kid. So why am I not happy? And so then I think that quote always just resonated with me.
And I think something important from that is that you're not a machine. Every day your best is going to look different. So if one day you do loads of things and you're very on top of all your work and you're like ticking things off a list and you're very like high up on, you know, feel like you're achieving a lot, and then the next day you just can't, or like something's come up like in your, you know, life outside of studying, I think it's important to remember that every day, as long as you try, that still counts for something. Like even if it's not the best day of studying, like I remember, you know, you're revising and you're like, I just didn't do that much today. Like I tried, but I just didn't, this topic's hard, I didn't understand it, I'm gonna have to dedicate more time to it. Like that's still okay, as long as you're trying and sitting yourself down. So I really like that. But I just wanted to add that like you don't have to be 100% effective every single day, because that's unrealistic and none of us were able to do that. And we still,
but sometimes I feel like sometimes doing nothing is effective, because sometimes I take breaks and the next day I'm so ready to go and I've taken on a topic I could never have taken on the day before. So that doing something is doing nothing sometimes is doing something. And I feel like as vet students, you need to understand that it's okay to take breaks.
yeah. I think also like, because this is a career like for life, like a lot of degrees you're doing stuff and then you're trying to figure out afterwards, but this is like you are learning this and then this is your job afterwards, and then this is your job until you don't want it to be your job, you know, you want to specialize and do whatever. I think it's different because the way that we're learning and the things that we're doing is like a lot more long-term life. Like we were talking about, you're learning for life, you're not learning just for exams. So I think learning now how to take breaks and how to be effective and like knowing what works for you, even if that changes over time, is like making us more successful for when we're new grads and we have to figure out that whole new world. And then, you know, if we want to go into like internships and specialties, like doing that whole world, and like, you know, then want to have families and trying to bridge doing two. So I think that we're doing a great job and I'm proud of us.
I think we are too.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this conversation and just chatting with you about things that, you know, this year was really hard for us. So I'm very proud that we've got through it, and I'm very glad that we are supporting each other to continue to get through it.
Well, thank you for having us on your show.
Yeah, thank you. I'll do this again.
Okay.
Same part 2 pending.
Pending part two. We'll have to see. Okay, bye.
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 I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. It felt very special to have a conversation with the people who are by my side for the vet journey. I wanted to have them as guests to show you the importance of having healthy relationships. These people make me want to be a better person. I feel very grateful to have met them on my journey, and I hope that through this episode, they have given you some inspiration too. On the subject of friendship, please check in with some of your friends to see how they are coping. Studying through a pandemic, no matter what degree you are doing, can be very stressful. Just living through a pandemic has been tough for us all. If you are struggling, then please do reach out to somebody, because you don't have to go through this alone. Thank you for watching the Animal Aspirations podcast.